Hi, Henkin brothers. What I need to do is to switch off the chat since I won't be able to see any messages anyway. And I hope my sound is better. I tried to change some settings for my headset because last night I know some of you experienced some difficulties hearing me. So I hope it's better this time. Let me know if there's anything, that gets on your nerves with regards to the sound or whatever. So I don't know whether this is known, I would say, to many, but this is quite an interesting story. Well, let's start from the beginning. So let's meet the two brothers, Yakov Henkin and Evgeny Henkin. I didn't know anything about them. Well, much to my shame, much to my surprise, I didn't know anything about them up until a few weeks ago, which is, I don't know how it's happened because several years ago, there was a massive exhibition in the Hermitage Museum of their photographs. I don't know how I missed that. I must have been working too hard in a different wing of the Hermitage Museum, not in the general staff. Well, because I mostly spent my time in the Winter Palace and I was busy with the tourists. So that was shortly before the pandemic. I don't know. So the two brothers, ordinary people, they are no celebrities, no actors, no artists, no politicians, no political activists of any sort, just the two average citizens of first the Russian Empire and then the Soviet Union. And it's interesting to see the years of their life. Yakov Henkin was born in 1903 and passed away in 1941. I don't even need to add anything here. I think it's pretty much clear how this person died. And yes, he died in the front line quite shortly after he enrolled, volunteered to the Red Army to fight the Nazis. And he could not but volunteer because he was Jew and he knew what the Nazis were after. So it went without saying. So that's Yakov Henkin. Let's talk about his brother. Let's also see the years of his life. Evgeny Henkin, 1900, he was a little older, 1938. Many of you, even if you have never seen any tour of mine, but you must have heard of the 1937 in Russia, in the Soviet Russia. That was the year of the biggest atrocities of the Stalin regime. He was imprisoned in 1937 in the Soviet Russia, and next year he was executed. And his family would only learn about his execution way after. So his family, for several years, thought that they would see him again once that mayhem is over and the Stalin regime comes to an end. That never happened, obviously, with them. And the photo you see there, it's not St. Petersburg, it's not Rostov-on-Don, where they came from, by the way, and we'll be talking about it. It's Berlin. He lived in Berlin for some time in Germany. We'll be talking about every brother. We will talk about each of them. We'll be talking about their story in more details, but just imagine this. And when in 1930s Hitler's party come to power, when things started to go south for Jews in Berlin, he decided to escape. He decided to leave, and he went instead of going to the States, instead of going elsewhere in Europe, which we know probably wouldn't have saved him, but he decided to go to the Soviet Union. We don't know the reasons for it. Maybe just because he wanted to see his brother. We don't know. What we know is that so he in 1937, he was arrested as a German spy, and then the next year, shot to death, executed. That's the sad story. That's the horrible story. And it would have been a story of thousands and hundreds of thousands of the Soviet people, be they Jews or not Jews. It didn't really matter much, unfortunately, or fortunately, really hard to say. It didn't matter much who these people were. They just happened to live in those horrible times, and many people just, repeated the same story again and again. They would either perish in the Soviet times, well, Stalin purges or the Second World War would eat them up. That's a very sad story. And it would have been just the story of many people of that generation, but they happen to have a hobby and they live separately. As they live separately from one another, both of them, and they didn't agree on that, they just developed the hobby. They developed the love of photography. And they were just amateur photographers. They were not artists. They were not, well, they had their day jobs. Well, for example, this is Yakov, and Yakov was an engineer, which was a very common profession for Jews at that time. And he just he just loved photography, and he took photographs of Russia, Soviet period Russia, and then Leningrad when he moved in 1930s with his family to Leningrad. And he was taking pictures of everyday life. And it's very different from photographs that were taken there, like stage photographs, or, photographs with an agenda or propaganda photos. They are very different. They may not be 100% artistic because they were also taken uh, suddenly. They were not staged. They just captured the moment. But so many photographs captured the moment. And they also, here we have these are the witnesses of the times. Soviet Russia. A lot of politics kind of behind the scenes, but both brothers were so far from politics. They lived their life. They had their jobs. They had their hobbies. Yet the photography is something that they will forever remain in history. Let's see Evgeny Henkin. So as I said, Evgeny Henkin, he was an elder brother, and he went to Germany shortly after the civil war in Russia. We'll be talking about it in more details, I promise. His photographs are different. His life was different. He got to experience the Weimar Germany, the crazy 20s when Germany was recuperating and enjoying the freedom and the economic growth for a short while, and then the crisis hit, and then Hitler time started. And the videos that I'm showing you, and how did I find out about the two brothers? Several weeks ago, when I was in Israel, a friend of mine, my colleague Luba Kleiman, she's also a St. Petersburg tour guide, and this year she qualified as a tour guide in Israel. And if you're looking for a licensed tour guide in Spanish in Israel, well, she's definitely, just feel free to contact me and I'll connect you with Luba. She's the best. She is the best. So I shared a lot of our photographs on my Instagram account, so you can easily find her even without me. So please be my guest. It's always a pleasure to promote my colleagues. And she just, invited me to a museum, the Eretz Israel Museum, the Museum of the Land of Israel in Tel Aviv. And there was this exhibition. And once I came there, I totally realized that this story, it was not known to me. And I'm pretty sure, and I was sure, and I am sure that it is not yet well enough known in the world. My tours are never about just the Jews or just Russians or just Georgians. No, it's always about the different connections. And we have made so many connections and unexpected connections throughout my tours. Sometimes my tours of Israel are somehow connected with Russia, and they are also connected with Georgia. Well, here it's not about Georgia, but it's just about all these different connections and the interesting stories that we can tell on the basis of some of their photographs as well. And you will see a lot of coincidence, by the way, a lot of things that I have already spoken about on my other tours. So I felt the moment I entered that exhibition hall, I knew I had to take you on this tour. But it's not the tour of the exhibition that I visited in the museum. I'm sharing a couple of videos I took, but I want to give you I would say, really wholesome tour, detailed tour about their life and about the historic and also kind of a geographical context as well, and the political context as well of that times. And So that's why they're going to be lyrical digressions, not lyrical, in fact, by digressions from the story to add to the context. And that's why I'm going to need more than one episode. I'm hoping to fit it into one, but we might need three. Who knows? I'm generous on details, and well, I'm not in a hurry. So let's go on. So this is Evgeny Henkin. As I said, well, he was very different from his younger brother. They also had a sister. I'll talk about that also at some point. He was very different. He was like a playboy, like a dandy. And unlike his brother, he didn't marry and he had many women and he was a lot more, I would say he was musical. He played multiple musical instruments. We will talk about that as well. And he was more artsy. So for many Jewish boys, music was not just a hobby, it was one of the means of survival, and that also helped him survive in Germany. And what we see, the photographs taken of like everyday life of an average, it's not even it was not really about their Jewishness. They were not well they didn't really live a specific Jewish lifestyle or anything. We don't know whether they were traditional, but it's most likely that they were not according to the lifestyle they had. They definitely were more well, it's not so easy to call them Soviets because they were already the teenagers when the revolution happened. So they're not exactly Soviet people, but they are Russians. It's not about their Jewishness. It's just about being Russian and then being Soviet at some point. So, and it's just interesting to see the photographs that they take. I mean, look, um, the selfies that they took of each other, and it's just incredible. And it just can't be just a coincidence. But both brothers sometimes took very similar photographs being thousands of miles away from each other at approximately the same time. And there is no any indication whether they agreed on some, photo projects, because again, this was just a hobby. But the way those pictures were taken, they just managed to capture the epoch. They just, it's, it's more than just photography. Those are really the testaments of the past and the people and just the I would say small family moments, some romantic stories, and also all of that at the background, I would say, against the very political background. Give me a moment. Someone is trying to enter the tour, and I just need to send them a direct link. Hopefully I will be able to do that, but I might not be able to do that too. Okay, give me a second. I hope you understand, because sometimes Eventbrite is tricky. I do send the direct links too on my newsletter, but I stopped sending the direct links through the open access. I mean, just through the open sources. Like I used to put direct links on Eventbrite tour descriptions, but at some point, different bots and trolls had, well, started joining, and I couldn't, well, I decided to stop doing that. Um, So I feel very sorry for those who struggle with Eventbrite. I myself sometimes struggle joining my colleagues' tours, but for those who are just joining us, this is being recorded, which means I will be sharing the recording on my YouTube channel, and there will be a link for the recording on my website, anayaguy.com. So it's not going to be a problem, but I understand that joining live is always more interesting, but it is what it is. And I will tell you a little bit later how the world learned about these collections, because they never really published these photos. I mean, they were all developed, well, there were a lot of negatives, there were a lot of unprocessed films, and they were not really, there were no exhibitions, They were not shown to anyone, and only a small percentage of them were actually developed and printed. Just that. You see, it's not a stage photograph. You see this face. She was in motion. It's just, moments. Just like it's very much like our photographs. Like we take pictures of when we're having a good time with our friends. We don't necessarily look nice. We don't necessarily, wear our best clothes. It's something very different, something way more sophisticated and subtle. But obviously, they were other photographs. It was, well, look, this is the photo taken by Yevgeny, so the one who lived in Germany. He had many women, so you can find a lot more women in his photos than in the albums of Yakov. Yakov got married even before he came to Leningrad, while he was still living in Rostov. So I will share with you many other stories, but I like this photo very much. So this was on the exhibition. I was at the exhibition in Tel Aviv, and so this type of not really. Well, it doesn't look like a. Okay, it's definitely a stage one. So the gentleman posed for it. I don't know. No, I don't even want to go into details who this person is at the moment, but it's as if we just like peeping through a keyhole or something. We're just eavesdropping. We're just spying on someone, and we're just taking a snapshot of the past, taking a snapshot of the previous epochs, and this is it. So and it's not just my opinion. It's not the opinion of a couple of, other amateur photographers, or some could say Jewish photographers. No, it's the world recognition because ever since these photographs were discovered, there have been exhibitions in the Hermitage Museum, not just anywhere, not just an independent art gallery somewhere in St. Petersburg. It was the General Staff Hermitage Museum, the same building where the Impressionist works are exhibited. It's no joke. And it was a very big and pompous exhibition. It was a very, well, I read the reviews. I wish I had known about it, but it's such a shame. I don't know how that happened. I'm really not happy with myself. I'm totally ashamed, but it is what it is. Yeah, there were some nudes too. And this one is very powerful. So this one was taken by Luba. That's me. This photograph was printed and placed on the wall. It's on the one, well, it's just a sea view. It's just a city view, not the sea view I had in Tel Aviv. But this one is the city view. It might say, okay, so it's just a building. Okay, it's just the ads, but not just the ads. We know exactly what Evgeny Henkin took pictures of. Hitler, the sign of the times. Do I have to say anything else here? And there were a lot of photographs. It's just amazing how they managed to capture all these photographs. And it wasn't just, a happy family. It was also the surrounding, the bigger context. There was always something else there, like the ghosts of the time. Well, anyway, this is Leningrad, by the way. This is the area you know very well. This is the Griboyedov Canal, Catherine's Canal, the Spilled Blood Cathedral, the one of the buildings of the Russian Museum. And well, we did so many tours in this area, and I'm sure you remember our walks. And this is the photograph also taken by Yakov Henkin, who moved to Leningrad in the 1930s. Was it easy to live in Leningrad in the 1930s for a Jewish man? First, yes. Later, it started to be more and more difficult. But he was just an average engineer. He lived in a small apartment with his family, with his wife and his daughter. So he was a very average Soviet man. And photography indeed was a hobby of many people. He wasn't the only one who liked to take photographs. And he took photographs of public holidays. He took photographs of family gatherings. He took photographs of different events, including obviously demonstrations. But those photos are not staged. Those are just people's lives with a historic backdrop. And of course, it might look as just the interpretation and overcomplication of things. Maybe we add even more meaning that there is, but you just cannot ignore it. Like you see these girls standing next to the amazing portrait, well, the portrait of Stalin, and they're not so happy. They're not so happy. Who knows? Maybe they, well, we're not going to interpret much for it, but we just see and yeah, just well, people just fooling around. People all live their lives, and it's also important to understand that when we think of those times, when we think of, I just want to keep this photo for a little longer. When we think of those times, be it the Soviet Russia or Nazi Germany, really doesn't really matter much, right? Um, we forget that people still live their lives. They didn't think every day. Well, they had to be careful, right? But they didn't think every day about, oh, how horrible the life is. They still tried to live. They still had their jobs. They still had their families. They still fell in love, dated each other, had children, had family. uh, well, got brokenhearted. People live their lives. And it's just interesting to see how that felt, how that was for them. And we tend to forget that. We tend to not really realize these things. And well, nowadays, even when all these wars are going on, we also live our lives. And yet we don't know, the future is so uncertain, it's so vague, but we live our lives, we carry on. I like this photo very much. It looks so desolate. It looks so, well, this woman looks so lonely at the empty town. And this is some officer. It's clearly some officer wearing the traditional uniform. She's alone wearing just a dress, and it looks quite chilly. It looks also rain. It looks like it's raining, and she is just wearing this summer dress. She's alone. She looks so vulnerable. And again, I'm pretty sure there was a reason for this man to be there, because normally when we take pictures, again, I don't want to overcomplicate and to overanalyze this. I don't want um, to dig for more than there is. But I would have waited for the trolley bus to go. I would have waited for this man to pass. If I really just wanted to take a picture of the girl next to the beautiful setting of Leningrad. But he did absolutely the contrary. For some reason. Again, I'm not the only one who thinks there's way more to it than just Leningrad and the beautiful girl. And yes, it's also amazing to see what the cities looked like, what the architecture was, how the city was decorated, the different demonstrations. Um, it's just also fun to see what it was like. This is clearly Nevsky Avenue, some demonstration, clearly, or just, kids. Kids were kids. Kids couldn't care less about Stalin, Hitler, anyone. They just lived their lives. And it's just so nice to see what the kids were. And the kids, I think kids are kids. They were dressed differently, but it's the same. It's just like, every day here, somebody's gatherings. So people had parties. Well, this is definitely a lot of wine. Maybe it's not even wine. Maybe it's even a brandy. This looks like a tasting more than just well, it doesn't look like a fun party. It looks like people are really judging something. They're sampling the alcohol. It feels very much like me a couple of hours ago sampling Georgian wine. I'm still drunk, by the way. You don't see this. I mean, you can see I'm a little bit blushing. That's from the red wine. That's why I prefer to drink white wine. I'm still drunk. I'm just disguising it, but maybe not. Maybe I shouldn't have said that. Well, anyway, yeah. I drink at work, unfortunately, but I'm lucky to well, to have such a job. So, and yeah, so yeah, absolutely. Well, rural life, city life, who cares? People fall in love. I really like this picture. Sorry, I should have paused there. Let well, I will be sharing this photo also. It's so romantic. It's so sweet. It's so touchy, so sensual. And these people couldn't care less what Stalin was after. They just lived their life. And yes, it did feel like the world was going nuts, pretty much like it's going nowadays. So, and it's just incredible to see that. So Yevgeny, the German guy, he was so elegantly dressed. So he took a lot of snapshots of Germany, a lot of Berlin, 1920s. Well, the folly years and a fall, right? So in French, it's like the crazy years and a fall, and I hope I say it right. My French is non-existent, I told you. And it's not, well, it's also a lot of architecture, which clearly shows the interest. And it's also just the way people looked. It's the way the streets looked, and also little by little, he took photographs of one at the same time and one at the same place, and with some, gap in time. And sometimes you would see one of the same street, and at some point you would see a poster with Adolf Hitler face on it and stuff and stuff. So, and also for us, it also just tells us, what the life in Berlin was. Oh, so I hope, Olga, you have been able to join. If you're here, I don't get the notifications as I'm streaming, and let's just let's just have a quick Q&A. I will see how many of you have joined, and I will fill in those who joined us a little after we started. So the chat is on. Let me see how many of us are here. Oh, Cindy, you're here. Hi, dear. So Olga, you've been able to join. Hi, Olga. So I had to take a half a minute to reply to you, but I know it's sometimes not easy with Eventbrite. I sometimes also struggled if I want to join some events done by my colleagues. So I totally understand. But for those who joined a little later, it's okay. It's fine. This is being recorded, and I will share the recordings around these days on my YouTube channel, and the link will be on my website as well. So you won't miss out on anything. And there will be part two, I promise. I haven't scheduled it yet. It's been a bit wild here, actually. So I will, and also please make sure you join my newsletter, just not to miss any of the tours. And I normally run from 6 to 8 tours every weekend. Oh, that's a lot. There's a lot. So speaking of the tours I will be doing tonight, just in case, and also the tours I have done so far this weekend, and there are several more recordings already on my website, but there will be more. Sure, I promise there will be more. But anyway, so yesterday I did a live stream in Tbilisi. Today I did a live stream in Tbilisi. A lot of experiences, a lot of wine, unique stuff, a lot of vintage stuff, a lot of architecture. So the links are all there. And just in case, the links to my socials, my website, as well as, well, the ways you can support me for the tour, be it PayPal or buy me coffee, are all here. So I hope you're finding it interesting so far. No, they were not related to Joshua Henkin, but the Soviet people know of other Henkin. Henkin is not a widespread last name, but quite a widespread last name. It was quite widespread in the south of Russia and close to Ukrainian, well, to Ukrainian border, which was anyway part of the Russian Empire anyway. So, but there is no indication, there is no connection to Joshua Henkin, the founder of Petah Tikva, one of the first Jewish settlements in the modern time, so to speak, in the end of the 19th century. It would have been mentioned had it been the case. So now let's not waste any more time and go on with the tour. Again, I appreciate everyone's joining. Thank you so much for that. It really means a lot to me. And, with my tours, it's not just about giving you big stories, taking you to opulent palaces or anything. It's also about just lesser known stories, which are less big, but also important and poignant. So again, this okay, there is no any ambition, there's no any claim that these photos are the most artsy and those are photography masterpieces. Nothing like that. Look at this. So this is the photo of Berlin. That's still, Weimar Republic. So before the world crisis hit the States and then Germany, and that's, well, it's the 1920s. I'm not sure which year exactly this is. And this is one of the, by the way, I would say, well, um, most popular photographs of Evgeny Henkin, the elder brother. And this woman, so normally normally we don't really take pictures of people as they eat. I don't know how they managed to take these pictures. Well, I know privacy issues maybe were less of importance back then. But still, taking a picture of a woman as she eats maybe is not the best way to, I don't know, get acquainted with a woman. I don't know, but this photo looks organic. It's just a woman enjoying her meal. She looks beautiful, elegant, and it's just, relaxed vibe. People enjoying their lives like we all do. Only that we know that there is very little time left for such, carefree life. Not careless, or carefree life, maybe. Again, we are definitely adding some sense into this, but that's how we also can appreciate it more. So that's what I was talking about. There are a lot of, well, hold on, too early for this guy with the mustache. Let's first go back to, so as I said, Yevgeny Henkin took a lot of photographs of these announcements. And since he was a musician himself, and he was, well, he gave quite a lot of gigs, which was a very good sidekick for him. He took a lot of photos. So, and we can see how the ads of the concerts, the different musicians and stuff and stuff and stuff, they would gradually switch into more propaganda, Hitler propaganda and stuff. We can see that. We can just trace it. If you flip through the photo albums, you can easily see that. And yes, obviously, he took photos as Yakov took photos of Soviet parades. Same would be done by Evgeny in Berlin. And it was not about cheering and greeting the parade and taking pictures of a big event. It was never about that. That was never the focus, and I think we can see that in this photo. It's more about also taking pictures of the people who are looking at this, whether you see if they like it, if they don't, well, who are these people? Are they participants or just the onlookers? Do they support or they are terrified? Well, there are a lot of questions also here that one can raise. And I promise there will be a lot of digressions because for me, this type of tours are also an opportunity to tell you some other stories that otherwise I actually cannot share because there is no reason for me to tell you about, let's say, Rostov-on-Don. But well, this time I'm going to exercise my rights and tell you some other stories. But first and foremost, Olga Henkina. She's the granddaughter of Yakov Henkin, the one who lived in Leningrad. She lives in Switzerland. I don't remember exactly which year, which city. So in 2000s, she she always knew that she had the archives from her granddad. She had it with her. She took it with her to Switzerland. I think she lives in Lausanne. Or some, well, I'm not sure. It's not really relevant. What is relevant that she took it with her. So the films, the unprocessed films, some photo albums, with some photos printed, but there was a lot more that never really saw the day of light, which is good because the day of light is always very destructive to the films and to the negatives. So, and at some point when, well, she gave a lot of interviews, and I'm just kind of very quickly retelling you the story. Mish, could you please give me a glass of water? I'm kind of hangoverish from the wine. And I got you the jam. I got the jam for my husband, so I'm not going. I'm not. Well, you can just watch the tour and get the idea. Why? Oh, sure, you can taste it on the Soviet tour. What now? On the Soviet tour, which is in 18 minutes from now anyway. So please do taste it on the Soviet tour. He's happy as a baby. He's as happy as a clam, honestly. So Olga Henkin. So in the 2000s, when there was this all of a sudden this trend for family history, people trying to trace their lineage, building your genealogy tree and stuff like that. So she all of a sudden remembered that she had all these archives from her grandfather, and she decided to have a look into it. And this is when her friend, also a professional photographer, digitized just one film, and he saw the photos, and he was a professional photographer, and he just realized that it's way more than just family photographs. It's way more than just people having parties. And this was at the exhibition in Tel Aviv, in the Eretz Israel Museum. And well, this is part of the collection of Olga Henkina, the photographs. So she would think for a long time, she used to think that those were just family photographs that there are on these films. That's way more than that. So altogether, there are about 7,000 images that are available. And Helen, thank you so much for the coffees, by the way. Thank you. It was way more than just family photographs. Can you imagine 7,000 family photographs? That's the most boring thing ever. Okay, it's interesting because it's your ancestry, but come on, that's not possible. So, no, maybe it's possible for me because I have tons of Grisha's photographs, but that's different. Also on my phone, I have photographs of Hitler, Stalin, Lenin, Nicholas II, and many other people. So my camera roll is a damp side for sure. So let's go on. But it's not as precious as the photo albums of the Henkin brothers. I mean, look at this. I mean, it's just like a candid picture. I don't know how he managed to get a permission to take photo of these people. If he ever got a permission, that's another question. That's a good question. Or these ones. See the faces of these people. So hail the revolution. Hail the revolution. Hail the um um it how do I even translate that? The theory of Marx, Engels, and Lenin. Hail to Lenin. Hail the revolution. I mean, and see the faces of these people. Do they look happy? This was not about taking pictures of a demonstration. I mean, clearly this is a demonstration of something other than what's written on their posters, right? I mean, see that. So or this one, I find this photo. We will be getting into more stories, I promise. So again, I want to take my time. I don't want to rush. I want to give you a detailed story with a lot of a bigger, context. So I hope you understand. And it's my party. So look at this. I like this photo very much. There must have been some prior, kind of a thinking, arranging, planning the photo. This photo was taken in Germany, as you can see, obviously. And those times in 1920s, it was all these like bob hairstyles were very trendy. And it's just interesting to see that the mannequins in the shop window and the women standing next to it, they're kind of this is juxtaposition of the dummies and the ladies themselves. So they kind of look in the same way, but they look so alive, and those just like a piece of plastic. But this is the beauty, and also I just like the dimension, the dynamics, and the three dimensions of this photo. And I'm not the only one to think so. There is some artsiness of these photos. Not all of them. Again, they are not masterpieces, but come on. This is just photos of the human beings too. So but again, obviously, we will appreciate the story of these photographs and how they survived everything if we learn more about the history of these boys and how they grew up, where they were born, what their family was like, and that's what I'm going to do now. And we'll also carry on with this next weekend too. I'll try to schedule the next episode for the same time next week. I like the consistency. I like to schedule similar tours at one at the same time. It's not always possible. I also don't want to overlap with my colleagues. First snow, and yeah, I like these selfies very much. So now let's talk more about just this human being, this average Russian and Soviet citizens, Russian Empire. I mean, obviously, and yes, they were Jewish, but it's not really that much about their Jewishness, but that as well. And that's important. So we start with that. So we're looking at the map of um, everything of the region, of the Black Sea region, and where the red pin is, this is the town where they were born, Rostov-on-Don, the Don River. And you can see that this city is not really far from Ukrainian border, and there are a lot of, mentions of Rostov, well, given the current situation and the developments in the front line. Rostov-on-Don, so Rostov town on the Don River. Yeah, it's just a little bit zoomed in for you. So you kind of get the idea. This is the south of the Russian Empire, not far from the Black Sea. And that pretty much explains what the life was like and what the city was like. Rostov-on-Don is quite an old city. It was mostly established and developed first at the time of Catherine the Great, and she is like one of the founding mothers of this town, so to speak. And due to its and because of its proximity to, and so I don't really have to tell you about it. I could have just mentioned they're from Rostov-on-Don. That's it. But I want to tell you this. You know also why? Because I've been doing these tours on the Jewish heritage of the Russian Empire, but I couldn't tell you about each and every town. But I think this history of Rostov is so interesting and it's so special, and I don't see any other possibility for me to tell you this story. And I don't assume that you would just go and look up for Rostov-on-Don at your free time, because there are a bunch of other things, more important things, to look up. So that's why I think I'll just taking this venue to spread the word about this town. No propaganda, nothing, history, just that. And it's interesting also for the history of the Jewish diaspora as well, and how the life was on Rostov and how other people and all these nationalities live together in one and the same city. I was able also to find the footage of Rostov-on-Don before the revolution. I slowed it down so we could take in the vibe. So this is the Don River. It's a very plentiful river. It's a big transportation artery connected with the Black Sea, which, it's incredibly important. So since it was a trade city, multinational city, there lives people of different denominations, of different backgrounds. And for a long time, Rostov was, in Rostov, Jews were allowed to live and settle on an absolutely legal basis. So it kind of was considered, a pale of settlement, right? However, at some point, and that would be like 1870s or around that time, Rostov was like the administratively, it used to belong to one kind of county or region, but then administratively it was switched as a center of another county, another governorate. And that governorate was a no-go for Jews. But the people of Rostov, the government of Rostov, fought for the right of Jews to stay in the city, because imagine there were 13% of the city population were Jews. Jews were involved in trade, in banking, in judicial system. There were a lot of lawyers. There were a lot of merchants. There were a lot of richest people of Rostov were Jews. And that was a precedent. that was a precedent in the Russian history. There were not so many towns they could just that easily give up on this Jewish issue, because anti-Semitism was very strong in Russia always. Another interesting story, similar story, by the way, with Tiflis. This is an interesting connection here. Tiflis, once it became part of the Russian Empire, Romanovs immediately wanted to put a ban for Jews for the Tiflis. But by the time, which is early 1800s, Tiflis, which is the old name of Tbilisi, became part of the Russian Empire. Jews in great numbers. There was a great Jewish population there, thousands of families. I'm not overrunning yet, Misha, but it's just kind of already being a bit impatient with me. Anna, stop talking, stop talking. No, I still have my time, so I'm not giving away my venue that easily. And there were so many doctors, lawyers, pharmacists. They were Jewish, and also the suppliers of some really expensive fabrics. A lot of Jews that came to Tiflis. I'm not going into details now because this is the tour about Rostov-on-Don and the Henkin brothers. But in general, when a lot of Jews started to, also a lot of Ashkenazi Jews, when they came to Georgia, shortly after Georgia became part of the Russian Empire, they came with their connections, and that helped them grow their businesses quite quickly because of those connections. There were issues and details. I'm not going into them. So, and this is when also the Georgian government, they managed to protect the Jewish community of Tiflis and Georgia in general. So there was never any pales of settlement in Georgia. This is amazing. So what we're looking at is the family of Henkin brothers. So these are the brothers. The mother and father, Hannah, Alexander, the two brothers. I guess the bigger one is, Evgeny and Yakov, and also Sophia, the daughter. So there were three children. Alexander Henkin was the head of a mechanical factory, and he was a well-off man. It was this mechanical factory, that's what it's called, Mechanicheский завод. Rostovsky Mechanicheский завод, so Rostov Mechanical Factory. It produced a lot of tools for the army. So that was things were going very, very well for the family, and it was one of I would say still kind of an upper middle class family in Rostov, and there was never any issue with that, with the boys and the family being Jewish. I have been able to find the photographs of the house where the Henkin brothers grew up in Rostov. It wasn't easy, but I found it. And all the photos that I'm taking are from the open sources, and this is houses like this you can find in St. Petersburg, in Moscow, in Rostov-on-Don, in Tiflis. There are a bunch of houses like that. They didn't live in a big palace. No, it was just, I would say, maybe a little bit more well-off family than some other families in Rostov, obviously, but that's where they grew up. This is incredible, at least according to what I would say a very respected local historian in Rostov-on-Don puts it. And this is amazing to have this house. I love such houses very much. They are not really important from the point of view of architecture. And in most cases, these, I would say, like typical projects, there were certain type of the houses that you would build, and this was it. So it's just one of the houses from the list. But I love this architecture very much. And that's why I like taking you, like today I took you to the street that had very similar merchant houses. And I like such streets very much. As much as I like taking you to palaces and the opulent lobbies, I also like taking you to this like nonsense buildings. And this is the image, the last one that I'm going to show you. It's a porch of an average house, nothing important, but you see the Jewish stars there, the Magen David, so the stars of David. And there's a lot of this you can find in Rostov. So Rostov never had any anti-Semitism. Well, yes, there were cases of, yeah, there were pogroms, but those pogroms, I will explain what the situation was like. So, but Rostov was just like Odessa, a smaller version of Odessa, where Jews had freedom, where Jews could exercise a lot of their rights and, well, some of the absolutely remarkable stories and personalities actually came from Rostov. Not only Henkin brothers, but we'll get to that next time. And I promise to schedule the next tour shortly. I promise. So I have technically 3 minutes before the next tour, and Misha is also at the ready. Let's have a short, well, a longer than a shorter Q&A. For those who missed the beginning, or maybe just missed almost the entire tour, it's also okay. This has been recorded and I will be sharing the recording. In case you missed, this is the schedule. So the next tour, which is to start already 3 minutes from now. Um, oh, hold on. The links are over here, as well as the links to my website, as well as the links to my YouTube channel, where you can watch also my live streams as of today and yesterday in Tiflis. You see this redness? This is from the red wine. It's still there. It's still in me, just as much as the bread and the honey. Oh, I need to do something with with his cheeks. Just pretend I don't have them. Anyway, thank you so much, everyone. Let's see if you have any questions. I'm here to answer them. And I would appreciate your support. You can buy me coffees. You can send me a PayPal donation. And please subscribe to my newsletter. The link is on my website. And this is how you can get notified of the tours I schedule, as well as on the newsletter. I always share the direct links. As I told you, I no longer keep the direct links on Eventbrite or descriptions because this is where bots and trolls find them and then they join tour and just cause a rattle. So I don't really want that. So I hope you understand. Dolly, I will see the links late. The chat is enabled already. I don't know what's going on here. Okay, I'll try once again. Okay, I'll switch it off and on again. Let's see for the third time. So I hope the chat is on. And Misha, we might start a little later, but that's okay because after that there is a significant gap before my last tour of the day begins, which is yeah, it's on now. Good. I'm not sure what it was. Actually, I had the ticket was on, but well, you know, a glitch, which is fine. Thank you, Sharon. So again, as I said, I will be given more stories along with the stories of the Henkin brother. And I think all these small stories that kind of add to our understanding of the background of where these gentlemen came from. And the interesting thing is that next weekend, there's going to be a tour about Lev Theremin, the inventor of the theremin musical instrument, or theremin box, we call it in Russian. And this is also connected with the tour about the Henkin brothers, by the way, because the Evgeny Henkin, the one who lived in Germany, he was a musician. And among many musical instruments, he also played theremin, and he gave concerts. And he was very popular, by the way, in Berlin with his concerts. Yeah, so many stories. And the Lev Theremin is just an incredible figure. He was a physicist, an inventor, and also a spy. And a lot of stories, a lot of stories. Thank you so much, Cindy. Thank you, everyone. I will see you very soon on the next tour with Misha about very different topic about, well, not that really different. Again, it's we're talking about the end of the Soviet times and the new Russia. So I will see you very soon. Thank you so much and bye bye. And I will share the recording hopefully tomorrow. Bye bye, everyone.